My mother was the first person in town to die from the mold. He grew inside her lungs and multiplied and made it difficult for her to breathe. For a short while, she acted strange, I guess. And later, the mold spread to her brain and she died of a hemorrhage. But we didn't know that at the time. At the time, she was just dead. At first, the men in the white suits came from town. They took samples and did tests and put everything into little plastic bags. Later, they took the chair my mother died into the dump for the trash trucks to pick up. The man said it was infested, that the mold had found a home in the damp darkness of the fabric and then spread to the rest of the house. We had to pack what was left of our stuff and go live with my grandmother. But even that was a false kind of peace. The next day, a girl from down the road died, and the night after that, the whole Lawson family passed away in their sleep. The ambulance and the men in white suits came again. They put more things in bags and marked off the houses with yellow tape. After that, it was all anybody could talk about. At school, the teacher showed us slides and pictures and talked a lot about science, but it didn't seem like they understood it either. It was a rare and deadly kind of mold, and they weren't sure what caused it. They told us about a case once in Russia where all these cows had died, like thousands of cows, and then everybody in the town died too, because they didn't have enough to eat. Later, they figured it was something growing in the grass. The preachers made a big deal of it, and everybody went to church almost every day. They were always praying and singing and hugging each other. And outside of church, there was a lot of talk of other stuff too. If it was a curse of some kind, or a hex, a lot of people thought that was what had happened, and wondered who had brought it and what had they done. Anyway, the mold came and the mold stayed. The preachers couldn't pray it away, and the scientists couldn't figure it out. They found it in kids' backpacks and silverware drawers. People were going around in masks like at the hospital all the time. They said it floated around in the air and that you could breathe it in. The days and hours passed like we were all underwater or just walking around with cotton in her ears. But every time we would go to the dump, there'd be my mother's chair. The trash trucks would come and go, and the chair would stay. It was my grandmother who first noticed this, and later it became her obsession. That perhaps the chair had brought all of this darkness and suffering, and only the chair could take it away. It got to the point where if the chair wasn't gone, she would yell and scream at the trash lady and curse her name. To me, it was just all part of a kind of wildness in the world. The way the plants are always growing all over everything and taking it over. Like all the creatures all around, just waiting on the edge of the woods with their dark and hungry eyes. There's bugs and things eating each other and buzzing all around us. Even the air is at war with us, rusting stuff all over and eating it up from the inside. The papers talked all about wars and diseases and the dinosaurs and how they got wiped from the earth. How they were here one day and then poof. We would go down by the water sometimes at night, and we were always turning up old bottles and stuff that nobody had ever seen before. Just old junk from some other civilizations, washed ashore in the mud with all the fiddler crabs. My mother's funeral was postponed a while because they were studying her body and analyzing its decomposition. The memorial service was in the winter, around the time of year that everyone in town was burning leaves and the whole air smelled like a wet, smoky dog. I would triumph in the works of thy hand. Oh Lord, how great art thy works. I think it was the smell that gave me the idea. And then it was like I just knew, or that I had known for a long time, that she would not be at the memorial service, that she would not be at the house. Even when I went to the dump, I never expected to see that chair. How had she moved it all by herself? Why did she take it to the water to burn? What was it about that chair? It's been a long time since my mother died, but I still think about the strange black smoke coming up from that chair, filled with the mold that had infested it and burrowed into my mother's brain. At that moment, I felt a kind of peaceful terror. Was it in my body too, even then? Growing in my lungs and making its way to my eyes. I knew somehow that the troubles in our town would soon be over. And in fact, the mold did leave soon after, never to return. And yet, part of me did not want this to be true. I wanted to breathe in the mold, just to know it. To have it grow inside of me, over my eyes and my teeth, so that I would be in the ground and become it. Become a kind of mold myself, and then float through the air and grow inside of you. Inside the wet, warm insides of your body until we were all the same thing.